Welcome back to the prosody course. I realized yesterday that I'm a very bad YouTuber. I was trying to do it without a script, which wasn't particularly effective because my pauses were too long. So today I have a little bit of a script, which might have its own drawbacks, but we'll see if I can improve as a YouTuber. So poetry spoken aloud is dynamic. And the dynamism comes from how we speak the words. My idea for this talk is that the poem tells you how it wants to be read aloud, if you pay attention. Let's examine some examples, and you'll see what I mean. First, part of one of the choruses from Henry V. Now entertain conjecture of a time when creeping murmur in the pouring dark fills the wide vessel of the universe. From camp to camp, to the foul womb of night, the hum of either army stilly sounds, that the fixed sentinels almost perceive the secret whispers of each other's watch. There's a sort of heaviness or muscularity to the verse. The sounds matter, and there are words that refer directly to sound, like murmur, hum, sounds, whisper. We call this onomatopoeia, the hum of either army stilly sounds. Now let's take a poem from William Blake. Ah, sunflower, weary of time, who countest the steps of the sun, seeking after that sweet golden clime, where the traveler's journey is done, where the youth pined away with desire, and the pale virgin shrouded in snow, arise from their graves and aspire where my sunflower wishes to go. It's anapestic, it's a triple meter, and the effect is a little bit more sing-song, though not in an exaggerated way. There's enough variation to keep things interesting. Hear that the rhythm is fluid rather than rigid, varying between double and triple meter. For example, arise from their graves and aspire. Arise, those two syllables, arise from their graves and aspire. A metrical analysis of this poem would yield as much complexity as we find in the Shakespeare. Now, William Yeats, The Lake Isle at Innisfree. First stanza is this: I will arise and go now, and go to Innisfree, in a small cabin build there, of clay and wattles made. 9 bean rows will I have there, a hive for the honey bee, and live alone in the bee-loud glade. Here we have the same attention to sound as in our other examples. Yeats wants to have a lot of stress clashes, like 9 bean rows, a bee-loud glade. What this does is to make us savor the quality of the long vowels. Another thing he does in this poem is to end a phrase with an unaccented syllable. I will arise and go now, and I shall have some peace there. But it isn't quite an unaccented syllable, is it? It's a monosyllabic word, secondary stress. Not quite as strong as the syllable before it. The effect is a kind of lilting quality. I will arise and go now. The small cabin build there. Now, what about Robert Frost? What will we expect from him? Shakespearean muscularity and Irish lilt? A song-like structure? Here is the opening of a sonnet called For Once Then Something. Actually, it might not be a sonnet. I'll have to go back and check on that. Others taunt me with having knelt at well curbs always wrong to the light. So never seeing deeper down in the well, and where the water gives me back in a shining surface picture, me myself in the summer heaven, godlike looking out of a wreath of fern and cloud puffs. The meter's a bit unusual here. Each line begins with two trochees for switching to iambs for the rest of the line. So deeper down in the well than where the water, looking out of a wreath of fern and cloud puffs. We also we see that the ends of the lines are feminine, ending with an unaccented syllable. But in closer examination, we see the last, 11th syllable is a heavy one. So we have a spondy at the end, like God-like, cloud puffs, well curbs. We also have a copious use of enjambment. We could read it out like a paragraph of prose. Others taught me with having knelt at well curbs, always wrong to the light. So never seeing deeper down in the well than where the water gives me back in a shining surface picture, me, myself, in the summer heavens, godlike, looking out of a wreath of fern and cloud puffs. That would give it a prosaic or conversational tone, or we could read it with the dynamic use of enjambment, which I suggest. Others taught me with having knelt at well curbs, always wrong to the light. So never seeing deeper down in the well, where the water gives me back in a shining surface picture, me, myself, in the summer heaven. So an effective reading of these kinds of poems would be attentive to the features of each style. Each poet has a metrical signature or a typical way of approaching things. We would need more examples from each poet to flesh out these signatures.